Mary Kate, are you surprised that you don't have more Russian?
No. No, I think that we've got this information went out in October, so the school year had already started. That was the superintendent's comment this morning. The year is already in, and I said, well, you know, with this amount of money, I do believe, I don't know your budget, but I do believe you could find it in your contingency fund. He poo-pooed me, but in the end, I think that they will easily find the money. But I do think it's middle of the year. They have heard enough from their peers. They really think that they're buying what they're buying, not that they're buying this much and getting a whole lot more. And in some respects, you know, it's the media specialist who has the relationship with SELCO, not the curriculum development specialist, not the superintendent, not the principal. And so we're talking to a different group of people because, you know, in some school districts this would be more than their library budget. But we're trying to sell this from the point of view, this is not a library issue, this is not a library project, this is a curriculum project because we're supporting reading needs across all grades. So if you can spend $100,000 on one-to-one tablets or one-to-one devices for your students, you might want to spend $5,000 or $10,000 to have on them to use. So the best story is that Michael was disappointed, and his last day in town, that he and David moved to Iowa that weekend, the first contract again. So he was pretty jazzed.
What is the authentication on that?
The authentication works against the student ID. Mackin takes care of that. So if they're online with us, great. It may be the same identification that we use through our barcode, or it may be their hot lunch number, but Mackin takes care of the authentication.
Yep, it's their ID number. I have my own personal Mackin, and it's their ID. Same as computer login. My question to you is, Pat, you had said that at the middle school level, for the higher level readers, the high school level books would be available. Is there a way that a school, because that's been a concern in Rochester, deep concern, that if it was just middle schools and they did not want access, then they wouldn't have access to high school titles?
We are leaving that to you. Right. There is an admin console to uniformly turn off everything that's got an AR reading level at a higher level, or if you want to do it.
They're worried about content. That's what they're worried about.
Or if they're worried about content, we are leaving that to you. So my thing is, we're going to let the district or the faculty that is dealing with these students make those decisions because you know your students.
The discussion continues.
I know. So we may have more libraries.
I don't know. The cost is what's killing us. But the cost, the money.
Okay.
That's right.
That is the end of this presentation.
Thanks, Donovan. Are there any further questions for Donovan? If there are no more questions, we'll move on to meeting structure. Tyler.
Okay. Last month, we had a joint meeting of the advisory committees here at SELCO, and we received some feedback that our meeting structure should probably be reviewed. So since we are constituting a third of the ILS Ops Committee as new this time, I figured it'd be a good opportunity to look at this meeting and figure out what's working for you and what isn't. What do you like about it? For those of you who are new, the format typically follows. We have our welcome, we approve the minutes, then we have input from member libraries, the technology project report, 15, 20 minutes, not usually as long as it was today. And then we close off with the Certificate Dining's roadmap, if there's a new one, and then just a little debrief at the end, set the next meeting date, see if we're going to cancel the next one or not. And then the points in the middle are the agenda items proposed by you and or SELCO staff on what we're going to be talking about, some of which are action, some of which are just discussion. So, I want your feedback. What do you think about this? What do you like about this meeting? What don't you like about this meeting? What would be more useful for you?
Works for me.
I see a lot of nodding heads. So.
Okay.
Don't fix it.
But always ask if it is broken.
The comment that would seem to resonate throughout at least part of the discussion on December 17th was that there needed to be more interaction among the participants and less reporting from SELCO staff. So my concern is that I want to make sure that you are feeling that you are listened to and how to solicit that input from you so that it isn't just SELCO talking heads.
I personally don't really feel like this committee's ever been SELCO talking heads. I really don't. I don't know. Other people do. I mean, I think we ask a lot of questions, as you see with the school e-books, when we're interested in the topic, and otherwise, I don't really. I'm just speaking personally how I feel about it. But.
This is Susan. From my prior 9 years, I've never noticed that our input was valued, and if we had a question or a concern, it was immediately discussed. So, not an issue for me.
Okay. Any other feedback we have right now? I don't expect anything from you, Alice.
Well, maybe the newest people will say, you know, we want, I don't know.
I will say I wish that library names were on the cards, because as I'm looking across, I was like, and I don't know anybody. Or, you know, there's a lot of people at the table that I don't know, or John Pfeiffer, I'm not sure who he is. So that would be helpful.
Yeah,
Maybe
you know,
maybe it is.
I actually should have done full introductions.
Okay.
But
Otherwise, the format could.
No,
That's like what I would expect.
Yes, for you, Alex. Yes. We can certainly change the name tags. I think the representation was more of an issue because we had representatives who could vote and we had alternates that stepped in when the representative was not available. And so the old name tags, and some of them are a little older, actually said representative and alternate. So we'll just put it on the to-do list. We'll make a whole set of new name tags. Library affiliation, so that you will know that Pat works with Rochester Public Schools.
I think in the minutes they always put, don't we put where we're from? We did minutes.
They did know. Okay. This is Mary Kay. I find SELCO staff to be very, very responsive. Okay. And open-minded and frankly kind. Awesome. Next, you're going to ask for chocolate. Why is there none? Yeah. Cookies don't carry it with Mary Kay. You know, and thinking back, I think you and I both probably remember and probably Donovan remembers the advantage discussion. Uncomfortable for everyone in the room. You know. Mary Kay and I had it lasted about a year. Yeah. But we worked on other things very well together. It's not that topic. Yeah. And the acknowledgement too that those issues will return because things change and things are different. And we're also looking at the separate collection that schools are able to have on top of the shared collection. And we understand that things are different because things change. Okay.
The chocolate does not.
and chocolate does not.
Only the price.
I understand there's a really nice chocolate shop downtown in the mall, if it's still there.
The gallery.
Galleria, yeah.
What's it called?
I don't know, but it's wonderful. European chocolate.
Yeah, for instance, in Des Moines, Rochester, and Amsterdam.
Tyler is a wealth of it.
You just look that up.
No, I've been there. I've seen on their sign every time.
Well, then I will repeat what Tyler commented. Tyler's comment that if there are things that you would like for us to consider, certainly talk to any of the sub-staff. We can shift up the meeting agenda, the format. We can integrate other ways of doing things if you have a suggestion.
Can I ask for one additional piece? I don't think it's on the agenda, but could we call it, hey, look at what I found?
Input to member library?
New York Times is available for libraries. Okay, and maybe somebody else has heard of that, or someone else would have liked to hear about that.
Cheering.
I thought that's what the input section was for.
It is?
Oh, I always view the input as we solicit
Right.
problems or whatever, and then
Oh,
we're supposed to
okay.
bring it back.
So maybe we need to retitle the input. Hey.
Traditionally, input has been
program at a library or something the libraries are doing?
no, the input really has been
Oh.
related to, is there an issue? You're absolutely positively hating how your, thank you. And then we would talk about it from this field of knowledge that we would have people who were both staff-wise understanding the behind the scenes, and then the people who actually are on the desk and and managing the systems in the real world and how to make those mesh. So the input from that really was how to better improve technology.
And also for you to bring up issues that had been raised by the libraries that you were representing as well. It doesn't always have to come from you directly.
I guess what I'm looking at is, we notice something that's happening in the larger world.
Sure.
How can we do that? Or,
Okay.
You can certainly add a sharing section.
Sharing items, yeah.
That's, I have something there. I think that that's really true. I know that I really struggle with knowing exactly how to talk about the new things that are out there that I'm interested in exploring. I'm never really sure the place for that. Like the advisory meetings, I always, and I'm probably wrong, but I always think of that as being focused on advising SELCO, and I think SELCO does just an awesome job. I mean, but for some of the other kinds of things, the maybes and the what ifs and the what's coming down, I'm never really sure where that happens. And an example is I was just reading about online high school degrees being provided through libraries. It's something new that's coming out, and in my town we would maybe be interested in something like that. And I don't even know what kind of project that would be or under whose umbrella or any, but I don't know where the right format is for that kind of a discussion, but I think that we could benefit by having more of those kinds of discussions. I just don't know where they go.
Well, Ann, this is Susan, and you do send out some great emails with ideas frequently. Thank you.
But is that the right format? I mean, so lots of times it's that face-to-face connection, or and everybody knows, you know, I really like to just talk about what if and what could be out there and what are we missing. But I always feel awkward about knowing if it's the right time or place or format or forum for those discussions. And maybe there is one and I just don't know what it is. I don't know, but that's my problem.
You're being too sensitive, Ann.
Yeah.
There's no
just supposed to email stuff like that out, or I like Mary Kay's idea about there being a place for
Yes.
for there in this agenda. Maybe it does fall mostly under technology. A lot of what we do does. And if I'm in the minority, maybe that's fine. But I don't know where I'm supposed to take ideas like that.
Take it to me. No.
And I don't know that there is a right forum versus a wrong forum. Certainly this group is here to sort of bounce ideas much more in the technology. I don't know that I would necessarily think of this group as a arbitrator of early literacy storytime techniques. So I think it may be, and it also may be the who is in attendance. If you're at this meeting and you want to bring something up, if you are at the advice, but you're more regularly an attendee at the becomes a more comfortable forum. I don't have a preference. I don't know that there is a better one. Sometimes it's just get it out there so people can start thinking about it. And if we really feel it's not this venue, we can say, hold that thought. You know, we'll put it on the parking lot whiteboard.
And this is James. Can I just ask you a question? What's preventing you from just simply requesting a particular topic on the agenda when we do the call for the agenda? Because that is one area which I feel we never respond back. And so I do think, and maybe this came up at that meeting, you know, there is some lack of interaction there, but I guess it's whether or not is that a bad thing or not.
I guess I think that it's not directly related to the ILS.
I think maybe Ann was talking about, Ann, you're talking about when the call for agenda items for this meeting goes out.
Right. Yep. So then I think, okay, what do we got? What sorts of things concerning the ILS are there that you know that we need on there? And so I don't think I don't think of like, oh, maybe we need a regional system to allow people to earn scholarships for online education as a resource belongs. I don't think of bringing that to this committee. So because I guess I think of this committee, and maybe that goes back to the committee charge, as being, it's not, the committee charge, it seems, is to make sure that all is well with ILS and the technology that SELCO supports.
And other technology services.
Okay.
But in a sense, she's right in this, that the function of the committee is to be advising. And so it's not really designed initially as a forum for discussion, but I think adding your, and I think it is.
It's going to be stagnant. We're ever changing. We can't, we have to keep our eye on the horizon and see what's coming over, or maybe we're going over the horizon.
I do think, Ann, and the very name of this committee is ILS Operations Committee. So it, even though the 5th bullet down on the charge says engage in strategic and technology planning, visioning, and implementation. So that would lend itself to talking about online degree programs, because you could say, well, okay, it's part of a visioning process. How do we determine if there is a role for our online libraries? Is there a role for SELCO to support that?
Sure.
But I think that, go ahead.
I was gonna. I think you've hit it on the head. I think that it's the name of the committee that's put blinders on me.
And then when you do the tasks, the majority of them are focused on the operations that we need to deal with immediately, because we're managing a $1.5 million system, and that's our focus. So maybe we need to think about, you know, being more inviting to ideas, whether it's this forum or the advisory committee. I know as Reagan will be charged as the new facilitator of the advisory committee, both SELCO and SELC. She's looking very much to having the same kind of discussion that Tyler introduced here. So maybe the SELCO Advisory Committee as that broader forum of large and small public libraries. It might be just as easy to have any kind of discussion there.
Yeah, yeah. I like it because I think I have the same set of blinders on for the advisory committee, like advising the things that SELCO does. And I'm like, well, you know, looks good to me. So I don't think of it in.
This is Junita. I'm just wondering, rather than have a blanket here, why can't we bring something up if there is something and say, do you feel that this is something that we can discuss? Case by case, I mean, because I don't think any information hurts any of us to have, whether I'm a small school library, a large library, whatever. The more information we have, the better librarians we are, whether it's our type of library or not. Not everything is going to qualify for this committee, but at least the question is, do we look forward to the discussion on this, or not?
Well, why don't we add to the next agenda something about sharing news from libraries, and it can be, as Mary Kay indicated, is as broad as, oh, by the way, did you know that New York Times is now available, it's more readily available?
Can I ask, and I think I asked something similar at that meeting as well. You're asking us how, I'd like to ask SELCO how you want us to interact with you, because if this committee is initially designed to be advising, are you need? Are there things in the structure that you would like to see? You know, because
I'm sorry, you can't see my face.
Use metaphors, man. Use metaphors.
I am sometimes frustrated by how long it takes to get that advisory mode moved, because while the staff might be ready to do something, and this group as well as the advisory committee are advisory, I am not so foolish as to take to the board an action item that is really contentious, because after 30 years of working at the regional library level, I can tell you that the first question the board members would ask, and justifiably so, is how does this impact the libraries, and where do the library directors stand on this? And if I have to report back and say, well, the ILS Operations Committee is opposed to this, or the advisory committee hasn't discussed this, they, within their say, SELCO staff go back to the table. So my one hesitation of why my face was going through multiple contortions here was I do think we get the input we need. I sometimes would like it to move a little faster, because we're as you can see from the next agenda item, we have done a whole lot in 2004, and we might have been able to do a little bit more had we not been stalled on a couple of actions for several months. So John, does that explain my look on my face?
okay, so can I just comment on that?
Absolutely.
Because I understand where you're coming from with that, and when we get hung up on issues, and I especially think that if you feel that you've done your diligence in sending out a bunch of information ahead of time, that I think sometimes discourse we discover we feel differently than when we're isolated. Mm-hmm. And so I feel that in those situations it does move slower, because we meet every other month, although a few times we did meet monthly for 2 hours, and we don't really have the opportunity to have a discussion with colleagues and then think about it and come back and you know, in a short enough period that you feel like we're moving forward fast enough. Is that fair?
That is a fair assessment. So, you know, this is well known between James and Charlie and myself. I was very frustrated about how long it took to move on your proposal for expired borrower cleanup. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Yes, Cheryl's telling me this. But I think it did take us from May to September, to make sure that everybody had allowed it to percolate. So there was frustration on our end because we could see the benefits. It would be to end, but we couldn't quite get the group moving in the same direction to say, yes, there are benefits, sufficient enough to spend the SELCO staff time to clean them up. So, but we have another one of those on the agenda today. And I really do want us, if possible, to move forward so that we can have that meaningful discussion about cleaning up the automation system.
But before we do, though, can I just prolong this a little bit longer?
Sure. Since we're talking about things being timely in our 10 minutes agenda item.
Just to ask, and you don't have to give me an answer right now, but if there are communication tools or processes that we can help provide that would assist in that, we're open to hearing that. So right now we have a 2-hour meeting, usually every other month. Our standard practice is to send out information a week ahead of time, and that's part of a longer process, which involves agenda items and then the decision on the agenda items and then the packet going out. If there's other ways to handle this that would facilitate conversation, let us know. We're always open to hear about that.
My sense is that we prefer to discuss as a group because it doesn't seem like any online venue works for discussion. I mean, it's unfortunate in this digital world, but I don't know. I mean, none of our topics ever seem to really become fruitful until we meet and talk about them in person.
But we're open. So, and that gets back to the whole meeting structure thing. If there's another way to structure this that helps with that, I think we're open to that.
This is Michelle from Wabasha. It's good to have the backup to have the online opportunity, but definitely face-to-face physical discussion is so much better.
And I'm glad, Michelle, that you brought that up. Cheryl and I are currently serving on a committee right now that is 27 people. It has never met in person. But it has had, in some cases, as we were in the process of preparing a request for proposal for a new MinLink system, we've had bi-weekly meetings, we've had monthly meetings. Right now we're sort of in a lull period while we all review the proposals that have come in from vendors. So I'm not advocating necessarily to do that, but I almost sometimes wonder if it would be easier if everybody was at home, because then everybody is equally disembodied, and then you could maybe have more because you were only going to take, our MinLink meetings have been very, very consistently an hour and a half, no more. And so it's an hour and a half, no drive time. So just something out there. I don't know how Cheryl feels those meetings have gone.
So far, I think there's a difference between having a combination of people who are online in a room and having everybody online. But I think the next meeting is going to be reviewing the proposal. I personally think that's going to be very difficult to do online, just because.
And I do think that maybe the nature of the work that Cheryl and I have been doing at these all online meetings has been very composing lists of technical specifications. So you can say that the record must be able to meet this standard, and then someone can say, well, don't forget this other standard. So it may have been the nature of the work involved that allowed 27 of us to have online meetings. I think I'm with Cheryl. We're reviewing 12 proposals from 12 vendors, 7 vendors, however many vendors, lots and lots and lots of pages, and lots of mushy language. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for 27 online.
To get all your conversation opinions heard from all of these people.